Okay, so
I
what
can't
would
bear
you
that.
rate the first movie over 10?
9.8.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be 9.5.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd give it a 7, guys. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm off.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna flip it. What was your favorite part?
Yeah,
of
let's be
of the Fellowship
positive.
of the Ring?
For
So it's
me,
like you.
yeah.
There's a sheet, and then you poked like 5 holes in it, but the rest of the sheet is nice and gold.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say my favorite part is the friendship between Sam and
Yeah.
Frodo.
Yeah,
Very
that's
moving.
cool.
That was the heartwarming and best part of the whole thing. So, fellas, thank you so much for taking the time. It's nice to have you here, Liam.
Yeah, nice to meet you, dude.
Same.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to give us like a brief introduction of yourself.
I was a psychology student. That's where I met this guy. I did honours with JD, studying authoritarianism. Now I work at the Dunedin Railway Station as a train manager.
Nice.
Possibly going to be coming back to do a PhD sometime this year.
Great.
But
Great.
that's-
Sounds
and
good.
I'm an avid Lord of the Rings enthusiast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you like to do in your free time? You know.
Watch Lord of the Rings. I'm also a musician. I compose and play music, play bass guitar.
Great.
So that's the main. Those are my major hobbies, really. Yeah.
Okay. You got any handles you want to shout out?
Oh no, not at this stage.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay. So we're gonna be talking about Lord of the Rings Part 1. Maybe a bit of a disclaimer here. I've only watched the movie. I've not read any book on it.
Shameful.
Haven't seen any cartoons or whatever else they made about the book. So yeah, all of my comments will be coming from my experience of the movie.
Yep.
But I imagine you guys may have gone further than that, so do feel
A
free
little bit.
to
Yeah.
bring in as much
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
external knowledge as you have.
Good to know. Yeah.
All right. So I thought we were gonna. I was gonna get started first with some parts that I believe could have benefited from some more context, just from the
Okay.
movie wise. Me
Yeah.
having seen just the movie.
Yeah.
First of all, I think they talked a bit about Sauron, ruler of Mordor, who forged the ring
Yeah.
and gave it to the elves, the dwarves, and to men. Firstly, why is it so the wraiths we saw chasing Frodo all throughout the first movie?
Yeah.
Why is it only the 9 men that are wraiths, and
Mm.
what about the elves and the dwarves that got rings as well?
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Where they at?
Like-
That wasn't clear. I'm just gonna run through a couple bullet
Okay,
points
go
of what
for it,
wasn't
go
clear
for
to me.
Yeah.
So what did the rings do for the people that took them? They just said they were rings of power, but they didn't really tell us what they
Yeah.
did for those people. Why did those people accept the rings from Sauron in the first place? I mean, was Sauron their friend, or
I do have answers to all these things that.
from where? The book?
Yeah, but all from
okay.
the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. The film doesn't really go into that. It kind of leads you to assume maybe he seduced them in some way with riches or something like that, and then the rings corrupted them. But
Okay. So do you want to give answers as we go?
I can if you like.
Okay, let's do that then.
Essentially, the elven rings, he tricked the elves. He assumed a fair form and presented himself as an elf with all the or like an angel almost figure, who was like a master smith. And he went to the elves with this cunning plan to trick them into making the rings themselves.
Okay.
And so the elves actually made their own rings.
Oh.
And then, along with Sauron, he made the rest of the rings of power.
Okay.
And the elves, essentially, their whole deal is, because they're immortal, rather than being afraid of death, they're afraid of, they struggle to cope with their immortality. Eventually, all their years of existence build upon them.
Okay.
And then Sauron essentially promised them that the rings would help them cope. They would make they would change Middle Earth into into an undying land,
Mm.
and the elves would be able to cope and live there and be happy. And so Sauron did that, and then he went away to Mordor and made in secret the One Ring.
Mm.
And once the elves had all put their rings on, he was like, well, now I'm going to be able to control them because he's made the Master Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. But the elves, it's kind of funny. The elves literally just realize that what he's doing as soon as he puts on the One Ring, Sauron. So they just take them off, and they have no effect, the rings. But so then Sauron wages war against the elves, and he destroys their kingdom and takes the rings, and then he gives them to the dwarves and some to the men. And the men essentially, they're lords and kings and sorcerers, and he promises them all these riches and power and immortality. And the dwarves, he promises wealth, and it leads both into folly. Eventually, it makes the dwarves, they become so addicted to wealth and just mining and mining and mining. They delve too greedily and too deeply, and then like the Balrog comes, wipes them out. The dragons come to Erebor, wipe those dwarves out.
Okay.
So yeah. I know. So I'm going on, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Okay.
yeah, and then the men become wraiths. So
Okay. So the dwarves that took the ring don't become wraiths.
They don't. No.
Okay. They just keep mining.
They get consumed by their
They get
lust
consumed
for
by
wealth.
greed.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of because they're different races, I guess.
It
They
works
have
differently.
different flaws,
Yeah.
Okay.
and he preys upon those specific
Yeah.
flaws specific to those races.
Yeah. Essentially.
okay.
That's
Right.
what he does.
I guess if they were, all men, they would probably all turn to wraiths.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess one of the points of the hobbits is they've kind of got a special resilience to the ring.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of implied also that I think when they go
They're
to
simple-minded.
And humble.
perhaps they
Not ambitious.
unambitious,
Yeah.
they kind of just like living and chilling with their families and getting drunk,
Mm.
which is the way to be.
And they are corruptible though, as you see.
Yeah,
like
they
with
are.
Bilbo, but it takes a
Smeagol.
lot longer. Essentially.
Yeah, they're more resistant.
Yeah.
That's their kind
Okay.
of special. Because I guess I don't want to jump in here. I wonder if you might ask this question too,
Okay.
because they're at the Council of Elrond,
Mhm.
and you're kind of like, why are they? It'd be a pain in the ass to bring along these hobbits, especially Merry and Pippin. You're like, why are they here?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They're just gonna be a pain in the ass. Wise cracks.
Yeah.
Can't fight, can't
Yeah.
swim.
Yeah.
Can
Can only cook and draw the attention of the enemies.
right. Which,
Yeah.
I guess the cooking thing is helpful. But aside
Yeah.
from that, right, they're not that useful. And I guess it's implied, at least I think Elrond says it, that Frodo's shown remarkable resilience to the corruptibility of the ring.
Mm.
And so it's not, I think, explicitly said besides from that hobbits are useful in this mission because of their defense against the evil powers of the ring.
Yeah. I mean, because also Bilbo seemed corrupted by it, though.
But it took a long time.
Whereas you
Sure,
see someone
but-
like Boromir,
Whereas Boromir was corrupted as soon as
he
he
saw it.
yeah. Essentially.
Okay.
And it kind of goes into that whole idea of like Tolkien clearly has like an admiration for like everyday life, and I think the hobbits really are like exemplars of that. Like their day-to-day concerns are like eating lunch, like tilling the fields, singing and dancing with their friends.
Yeah.
They don't have these concerns about the wider world
Yeah.
that you see in the prologue. You get the sense it's this big wide world, and the hobbits are just insulated from all of it.
Yeah.
They just don't really have any conception of.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's why like Bilbo feels like an outsider in his own place. He feels different because he's gone out. The story of the Hobbit. Well, do you know the story of the Hobbit?
No.
Well, it's just essentially he went out and stole the ring.
Oh, okay. They did mention
Slightly.
a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, just
About
the
how
only point I
he-
want to make is he feels different partly because he's gone outside of the Shire and done things that had, I guess, worldwide impact, right? And because of that, he's kind of seen as a bit different. It's
Okay.
just-
And that worldwide impact, is that still in the ring? Because that impact hadn't happened yet, though. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I will say it's much better to watch the movie when you have people who have read the book and
Yeah.
done the background work.
Yeah.
When did you first watch it? Like, did you watch it when you were a kid, or were you older, or?
Man, I know I've watched it before now. I can't remember when. I was much younger, of course. But I don't think I even really got it the first time I watched it either. Because it was this 4-hour long um adventure, I guess, commitment.
Yeah.
That I had to watch in bits, and still then I felt like a lot of context was lacking.
So
Mm.
my question is, how deep does this criticism run? This lack of context criticism for your enjoyability or from what you got from the film, etc., etc.
I mean, I tried to get over it, right? Like, I made some notes about some stuff I just asked and some other stuff as well that I'll go over, but I just try to take what is in front of me and work with that. And in so doing, I will say this might become like another Dune type situation where the lack of context sort of limits my maximum enjoyment of the.
So is it quite important to you to have quite a strong grasp of what's going on?
Because
pretty much, because I feel like it feeds into, it helps me understand what's this person's motivation, what's that person's motivation, what's driving all these people.
I guess they leave it. I feel like Peter Jackson's trying to leave a lot of it up to your imagination. With the stuff you talked about at the start, he's kind of saying all you need to know is there's this big dark lord. If he gets this ring, it's really bad.
Yeah.
And then the focus of the plot is
but
how they prevent him from getting there.
And that's all that matters. Like at the deepest level of the story.
Okay, sure. But to me, that feels like what a kid would be satisfied with, right? You could just tell them a Dark Lord exists. If he gets this ring, it's the end of the world. This is how these people work to keep him away from the ring.
Yeah, I don't know.
But for me, I would enjoy it better if, okay, so he created these rings. Why did these people take the rings from him in the first place? Did they think he was a good guy? Why? Because I think there's a lesson there for the kids even. Like, don't take rings from people you don't
strangers.
Yeah, but you think about how much content Peter Jackson has to fit in.
It's already 3.5 hours.
The extended version is always 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then, because my view, now I am prefacing this with a statement that I know at least a lot of the things Liam is saying.
Yeah.
And I think that opening montage is one of the best opening prologue montages of all time.
I was actually about to say I think it's the greatest prologue I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it's so. I always thought it was very, very concise. It gives you a sense of the vastness of the world. Mm-hmm. It sets the stakes. It's also visually very compelling.
And it primes you for what's coming in terms of action and adventure and fighting and glory.
Brother, we have 4 hours, right? We're not gonna be going through action for the whole 4 hours. Give me some world building. Give me some meat.
But they do give the world building. They show the different parts. They show more.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the shot. So it's kind of like, I kind of disagree. Like, I think often, sometimes this happens with music. Sometimes this happens like in stories. You want to give the viewer or the reader a little snapshot, not just of the tale and what like the actual story might be about, and the introduction to some main characters, but also kind of the genre that's going to come and what the feel is going to come later, if you know what I mean. So like, because it's an action adventure, you want some action adventure and exciting stuff right at the beginning.
Let me put it to you this way. That's all well and good, right? But all that you said is applicable. Mm-hmm. But if I don't know why people are doing what they're doing, then to me those characters are hollow.
But don't you want to figure out
which characters don't you know? Like, you don't know what they're doing though.
Okay,
like, you don't know.
I don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
You don't know why, like, the ring wraiths, people like them who have taken the rings know what they're doing? Is that what you mean?
No. I know that they became wraiths after they took the ring,
Yeah.
and all of them didn't know that he created a master ring
Yeah.
to rule them all. Sure, that all came across, right?
Yeah.
Why did they take the ring in the first place?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Did
Well,
they
doesn't
think he
she
was
say-
trustworthy enough? You know,
She says
what was
She
the
says they
relationship?
desired power. She does. And
Everybody
I know that's
desires
vague.
power.
I just think, yeah, of course.
But I
And
think it's
some-
done with like the imagery. They go up and they're looking all like
Okay,
almost
okay.
deliciously at the rings.
Let's move
Yeah,
on,
okay.
right? But
Fair enough.
But I do want to say one thing.
okay,
So you got me to watch Power, and in that first scene, a person that we've never seen before goes into a club with another woman that we've never seen before, and then his mate tells him to come outside, and then he executes this random person. Now I've never met any of these characters, and I said a very similar thing in that episode where how it sets the scene for what's to come in a number of different ways. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what their motivation is. I still don't know any of that information, and I'm still why I like it is because I don't know. It's because I'm going, what
hook.
are their motivations? Why
Yeah.
did they do the things they're doing? They're getting me intrigued. So my question is, you know, I had that experience then.
it's not the same though.
How isn't it the same? It's
Okay.
similar.
So with Lord
It's in
of
the
the Rings,
ballpark.
it's more like law. You know, what
Yeah.
has happened
Sure.
is what is shaping all that will happen in this movie.
Mhm.
A ring
Sure.
got loose. That ring of power wasn't destroyed when it was supposed to, and now the whole movie is all about getting it to Mordor to destroy it, right? Like but that scene you're describing, all the flesh you needed came with the bone in that very scene. Sure, you don't know, what this person's life was before he ended up in front of someone about to be executed. But in that scene, they told you what he did, right? And they even established why he did what he did. He robbed them, and he did it on the orders of someone else who he fears more than them, and so on and so forth.
I just feel at the end of it, I have so many questions, and I'm assuming you have so many questions too. And
Sure.
I'm like, I want to find out the questions in a
Sure.
positive way.
Sure.
So I guess that's maybe at the heart of what I'm getting to.
Yeah. I didn't get these answers throughout the whole movie,
Well,
which is why I'm referencing them right now.
I
right?
guess it's just a preference then, because I think the directors, I don't think it's poor exposition. I think they've just decided it's not that important. Because I kind of don't really think it is important, because the Sauron and the Ringwraiths are kind of almost just like a force of nature in the background. This shadow over the plot, over what the heroes are doing. I feel like the themes are much more about like good people rising to the occasion in times of peril. Like I think Peter Jackson is much more interested in their motives, like the motives of the hobbits and of Aragorn, rather than the Ringwraiths. I think, yeah.
Okay.
But if you would have rather learned more about them, that's fair.
It's not
Yeah.
just that, right? Like, why did Sauron wake up when he did to start looking for the ring? That was also not clear. All we heard is ring went away, changed hands for some time after it got lost for some time, and now Sauron is looking for it, and his ring rates have risen. Why then?
They do explain it, because
Yeah.
Gollum. Oh wait, that's in the Two Towers. They explain it in the Two Towers.
What is the Two Towers?
The next film.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do explain more or less why
Why he woke up at that point.
why he's seen the Ringwraiths at that point. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway.
And then
All
in the
right.
third one, it's the Gollum prologue, right?
Yeah.
Smeagol
yeah.
prologue.
Yeah.
How he got the ring.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
we should.
All right.
Skip from the opening montage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So Sauron defeated by Isildur, son of the king,
Mhm.
by a chance swing of the
yeah.
sword
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
separated the ring from his hand.
Rare.
What we thinking there?
I actually wasn't a fan of that,
Yeah.
because
So-
in the book, Sauron's actually just killed. He falls in battle, fighting
Okay.
essentially the most powerful man, the most powerful elf on Earth. Characters that don't come into the film. Sauron kills them both, but is slain him. His body's
Okay.
slain,
Okay.
and then Isildur just comes and cuts the ring off his hand.
Yeah.
It does make Sauron look kind of
Yeah.
stupid. He's got all his powers in his hand, and he's just reaching it out.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
cut my finger off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
why is
Yeah.
he even in battle, right? If you're so powerful, why aren't you just commanding forces from some
No, he's
Oh,
Alexander.
he's
relative
getting his
Alexander.
ass handed to him at
level
that
of
point.
safety?
The whole of Middle Earth at that point in the book. Sorry, I'm going to say that a
Okay.
lot in the
Yeah.
book. In the book, he's had his ass handed to him.
Mm.
Like the all of Middle Earth is united against
So
him.
now he had to come out and
They've
fight.
attacked his home
Okay.
in Mordor, and he's on the ropes.
Okay.
So it's the
Okay.
last resort. He
Okay.
comes out into
Okay.
battle. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
All right. So I also was wondering, how could it be said that the ring chose Sméagol or Bilbo? I
Yeah.
mean, the ring doesn't seem to be able to move itself. Sure, it can tempt you and talk to you, but why do they keep saying it chose them?
It seems to me that it's within it imbued this evil power of its creator, Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon the weakness of people in proximity, it
Mhm.
would attract
Mhm.
certain people.
It's opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
It waited. It was in the river thousands of years, and it waits just for somebody to come along. And Tolkien, he uses what's called soft magic, like it's magic that doesn't have rules, and it's sort of there's a lot more wonder in his magic. It's not really explained. A lot more spiritualism in his magic, and it's just sort of implied that the ring just has an ability to allure people and seduce people, exploit emotions and things, and it just waited took an opportunity when Gollum came by to tempt him, essentially.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely agree that it's opportunistic, but they kept referencing it chose these people, like
Yeah.
Okay, so Frodo and Samwise, that was a heartwarming
Yeah.
story of friendship, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Sam's he's the best friend ever
Yeah.
depicted.
He's the and well, Tolkien says this, right? He's the main hero throughout the whole
Mm.
Yeah.
thing. He's kind of the ideal in a way.
Mm.
He's the guy you'd want there when you're
Yeah.
at the bottom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very sweet. It's kind of one of the reasons I really love Lord of the Rings is like it addresses these big grand things and these small intimate things on many levels, like thematically with good versus evil,
Yeah.
and then the small things with friendship, with music. It's got big symphonic pieces, and then it's got small solo voice pieces, and I really like in the context of all this huge, crazy stuff happening, you've just got, at the heart of it, you've got this friendship between Sam and Frodo, which is a little cheesy, but that ends up saving the world. It's the power of their friendship.
Yeah.
It's not cynical.
It's not cynical.
So, as I was saying to Liam before we came here, okay, there are a lot of things I like with the film, but one of the essential things is there's a lot of darkness in some of the cinema that gets produced today, a lot of cynicism. And some of that is because the world is crumbling around us and it's simply a reflection of that world. However, it's very refreshing when you actually watch a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
When you actually see, on this occasion, at the very least, the good guy overcame his shortcomings. Or he jumped over the barrier and he got to his goal.
Yeah.
And it is because it's not only the case that people succumb. People do overcome obstacles and they do achieve their goals.
And I've heard Tolkien being described as like very naive for it. But this is a guy who fought in World War One in the trenches on the front line, and many of his closest friends were killed. And so, and in spite of that, he still has these very I don't know what word would you use, wholesome themes of friendship and bravery.
I guess it was a different time back then, though, right? Because I guess, I don't know, war maybe unites people more, you
Maybe,
get to see more raw, basic forms of friendship, of someone going into the trenches with you,
True.
Well,
as
yeah.
opposed to everyday life and stuff where you could be friends with someone and the slightest thing can
Then you ghost them on Messenger.
Well, what's kind of interesting, actually, now you're bringing it up, how it's a bit cheesy that friendship saved the world,
yeah.
or saves
Well, I don't think it's cheesy.
at least saves someone's life. But you could imagine being in the trenches and maybe you didn't have the awareness to see something, and then your mate who's
Yeah.
right beside you did,
yeah.
Yeah.
and he saved your life. That probably happened
Yeah.
a lot, and there was probably
Of
another
course.
occasion when somebody saw something and thought, "No, I'm going to save myself," and saved himself, and then someone died. But
Mm.
Tolkien's chosen one of those two narratives to share with us.
He does. There are a lot of people think he's very black and white, but I think there are quite a lot of grey characters,
Go on.
like Boromir.
Yep.
Very grey, very morally grey. I won't go into it, but there's characters in later on who are very grey.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think he's naive about human nature,
Mm.
about people's failures and moral shortcomings.
Just chooses to focus on the positive then.
yeah.
There's also, that Bilbo moment with Frodo when the ring drops down in Rivendell and he goes, "Ah!"
That scared the shit out
Oh,
of
when
me
I was a kid, I was
holy
like,
crap.
dude, I would skip over
I
that.
didn't, yeah.
And I knew it was
I'd
coming.
be like this, like
Yeah,
watching
with the way his
yeah.
face changed. Yeah.
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 Ugh.
He almost looked like Smeagol.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
that's
point.
intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what he will become.
Yeah.
If he continues to be exposed to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I raise something?
Yes, please.
So, one of the things upon watching it for the first time in a very long time was like a technical thing. I don't know what exactly it's described, but it's to do with like montages and being able to tell a story mainly through visuals and maybe with a little bit of narrating over the top.
Mm.
In particular, well, there's the first montage that we've talked about, but there's also when the hobbits are going from Bree to Rivendell,
Mm.
and also after that when the Fellowship gets together and they're going to the Mines of Moria, it switches to Saruman and Isengard and what he's doing and how he's captured Gandalf and stuff, and then how he's making his army. And frequently, as the story's going along, it's seamless. They're telling stories across a lot of pages in the book, and it's just seamless, and you get most of what you need. And there's on the screen, there's beautiful music, there's beautiful visuals, and it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like contrived.
Yeah.
When some of the times when I watch it, because we talked about, I guess the worst one
Mm.
in June 2 was the love montage, how it was like,
Yeah.
like super
Yeah,
cringe.
Yeah.
This is not working.
Yeah.
And there was just something I noticed when watching the Fellowship of the Ring that those very well executed montages with beautiful music and beautiful visuals. Obviously,
Mhm.
this is New Zealand, so
Mhm.
pretty biased with that one, but
Yeah.
it does. What do you guys think about that?
About
wanna
the-
go first?
Oh, I agree. I just agree.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think it's very, very well done. In the books, it's a lot of those things you just hear. You hear about Saruman, you never see him. You just hear stories about him,
Hmm.
and
Mm.
yeah, I think like the music is like incredible. Like what's the guy's name? Howard Shore? I think he did like an incredible job. Do you guys know the term what a leitmotif is? Have you heard that term?
A leitmotif.
It's like a term used in composition for like musical composition where like you'll create like a melody to represent like a character or place.
Mm.
Like there's really famous examples would be like Star Wars. You've got like the Imperial March that you probably all heard.
It's in my head right now.
Yeah, or like Jaws, even the dun it.
Right.
That's a leitmotif. It represents the shark. And a lot of modern soundtracks like Hans Zimmer and Dune and in Stellar, he kind of famously doesn't use leitmotifs. He just sort of creates soundscapes that set a mood and a tone. But Howard Shore, wow, I just think it's a masterclass in leitmotifs. Like, and the advantage of that approach is he uses these leitmotifs, these musical ideas, and he lets them develop alongside the characters.
Mm.
So, like, you hear, like, the Shire theme at the start of the film,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very tranquil, peaceful. And as the film goes on, you hear that theme come up again, but it gets sort of more and more wistful and somber and nostalgic. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's epic. And that's something, I guess, I don't know about you, Victor, but that's something that would be going in our ear, and it would be affecting our, or at least my, like, emotional interpretation of a scene, right?
Yeah.
And because I don't know the actual, what's actually going on with the music, it just kind of passes over my head, but it's actually probably hitting home and probably really helping the experience.
Yeah. And he does, and again, going back to that idea of, like, these big sweeping things and these intimate things, like, there's pieces in that, like, I think the Moria theme, it's like a 80-man male choir, and it's huge, it's larger than life, and it sounds ancient. But then he'll have, like, I don't know, when Aragorn and Arwen are together, it's just a single female voice with some strings accompanying it. Mm-hmm. So I there's so much attention paid to, like, the macro and the micro.
Yeah.
And that reflects what you're saying about how, there's friendship within the grand, designs of every single person.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I picked up all of this stuff with the soundtrack.
I've thought a lot about it.
Yeah, obviously. So I guess I'm just representing the casual watcher here, amidst two, I don't want to say fanatics, but committed people.
Well, it's something many films you would have watched would have done this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars is a prime example, but just for me, I think this is a particularly exemplary example. Like, it's a really Howard Shore. Normally, it will take a composer 6 to 8 weeks to do the score for a film. He just spent 2 years on that soundtrack. Just put everything else aside.
Wow.
Yeah, like just a huge effort, and flying between England and New Zealand, flying in solo musicians from all over the show. Yeah, it's just huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's why there's like a 30-minute end credits for the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
A whole lot of people to give credits to. I found that a bit weird, but
there's a lot.
It's a massive production.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a question about how, well, a decision that was made close to the end of the film where the Fellowship left Frodo and Samwise to continue on to Mordor.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was necessary to assemble the Fellowship in the first place, why leave them now to go on their own?
Yeah. Yeah, it's never really fully explained. Again, it's sort of interpretation. I always interpreted it as kind of Aragorn realized after Boromir fell to corruption, Aragorn kind of realized, this isn't working. This approach.
Yeah, well, Galadriel explicitly says one by one you're going to fall to the power of the ring or something.
And Boromir
like
was just the first. And Frodo realizes Boromir was just the first one.
Right, because Aragorn comes back, and then after Boromir's just done that, he's run away. He's just taken the ring off after being invisible for a while, and then Frodo
but
says
he offers
to Aragorn,
it to Aragorn, and
he says,
and he turns it down.
Yeah, he turns it down at that time. But I think, the point is, as you raise, he kind of realizes that if it doesn't turn Aragorn, it might turn one of the others.
Might
turn even one of the hobbits. Whatever, it could turn someone else.
But can't they, protect from a distance?
I mean,
well, first,
it just feels mightily unsafe to let two hobbits go to Mordor.
Pippin are taken.
No, Merry and Pippin are taken as well.
Sure, send the elf or send one person from your party. Not that you just let the two hobbits holding the most important thing in the world that seals all your fates.
True.
Go alone.
True, but they are. I don't know how much you can probably tell me, Liam.
Feels a bit risky to me.
But they are sneaky.
Yeah,
They are small.
Yeah,
and that's part of their, Hobbit vibe.
Yeah,
and, they are.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this then: if you were, the dwarf, the elf, or Aragorn, would you make that same decision?
Well, I've got a direct line
I
to
wouldn't
Tolkien.
sleep well.
I got a direct line to Tolkien.
Yeah.
So he would have been like, they're gonna make it in the end, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
No,
what
it's
I've
a
But
good
if you
point.
didn't
It
know
would
that
have been
they
a tough
would make
decision.
it.
It's a
to
good
make.
point,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
know, I think with what we've just said, I'm fine with that happening.
Yeah.
Especially given I think that's necessary that Merry and Pippin got taken, and it also does signal to Saruman, or it does signal to other people, if all three of them are chasing, then they must have the ring.
Yeah. It tricks
Tricks other people.
It tricks the orcs into thinking that those hobbits, or the
Right.
Saruman thinking those hobbits have the ring. No,
Mm,
it's sort of a decoy, because
Okay.
it's again in the books it's emphasized like the only way is discretion. That's the only way they could possibly
Not
destroy
so
it.
much in the movie though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
fair enough. That's right. Yeah, yeah, fair. It is interesting talking to someone who
Yeah. Who hasn't read
'Cause
the book?
everyone I know who
They just know
they
why.
or they've watched the
right?
movie
Yeah.
5 million times.
Right, they just
Yeah.
know.
So they just
Yeah. Okay.
So they've thought about it and thought about it.
They accept those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting questions though.
But that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna also do like 5 parts that I don't know, I think I may have a problem with in the movie.
Okay.
So the first is Gandalf is fighting with a sword. What's a warlock doing with the sword? You've got magic. The part where Gandalf falls, it seems like he let himself go off that ledge and
Yeah,
not that he
that
was
does-
dragged down.
Yeah.
That felt a bit strange. Like you've defeated the thing. Someone can pull you up if you don't have the upper body strength to pull yourself up. Why
Yeah.
let go? The 26 minutes of end credits. And
Are you actually?
Is that
saying
actually a
it?
problem?
Who the
Well-
hell sits in the cinema and watches the entire end credits?
no, I didn't watch it.
I'm impressed
but
if you do.
I didn't, but I felt like really. I when I looked at the thing initially.
Too many
it was
credits, 1 out of
almost-
10.
It was almost 4 hours.
I think
I
there's
was
just
I
that
was
many
actually
people.
pleased when I found out that almost 30 minutes was just end credits, so it wasn't actually a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was pleased, but then I was like, wait, why did they have to have 30 minutes of end credits? But anyway, that's just
I think the production
nitpicking
was
at
just
this
that
point.
big.
Yeah.
I guess.
Like-
They did want to say, yeah, it's all these people did help. They don't
Yeah.
want to be like randos
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, which
okay.
I guess some productions might do. I don't,
Okay.
I don't know.
And the part where Smeagol found them in the mine, I mean, the Wraiths and the Orcs have been trying to find them. How is
Yeah.
it that Smeagol is able to find them in the mine?
Yeah.
And also, the part where the mine looked like the entrance collapsed, right, when they ran in,
Mm.
and from that monster, and they can't go back anymore. How is it that Smeagol was able to get in? So did
Yeah.
he get in
Oh, that's a
ahead
good
of
question.
them?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, did he get in ahead of them, or
Well, I guess
I'm trying to remember if there because
what in the book.
just one thing I wanted to say is it sounds like you'd really enjoy the books because Tolkien loves explaining things
Yeah.
in incredible detail.
okay?
Like he but I don't remember how Gollum got in there. But I know he's very guily and he's very clever. He's very stealthy.
Yeah, I mean, my
So
imagination
I can
would say
imagine
maybe he found
a
a
crack.
small exactly
Yeah.
to crawl through, but
Yeah.
yeah, it just stood out to me, and also some level of convenience that the orcs chose to attack in waves. So the first wave came, they were defeated,
Yeah.
allowing them to run, and then the second wave,
Was this in Moria?
no, in the mine, yeah,
Yeah.
in the mine, because then the second wave came that could have, defeated them in the first place. Why didn't that wave come?
They are
And then they all ran
probably
away.
IQ 40 tiny orcs. I
Sure.
wouldn't call them the
IQ
most-
40, but then they organized 2 waves of attack instead of all
Well, they're
just
more
bomb
like- I
rushing
They might
them.
have taken
I
that
think
long
that
to get there. I
They-
don't
They're,
know.
they're more. You should
Yeah.
understand they're more like pack predators,
Mm,
like animals, more than I guess intelligent beings.
okay.
You know what I mean? I would get, especially goblins, because they're like the lowest of the low orcs, right?
Wait, but then
I think so.
the goblins
Because
got
goblins,
mixed
orcs,
with the orcs, right? By Saruman
What was that?
to make them stronger.
Yeah.
Orcs mixed with like these kind of mutated men.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
not goblins.
No.
No,
I think in the movie they said it was goblins. mixed.
trying
but they
to
say
remember.
goblin. They say goblin men, but I think it's they're not. So at least what they're supposed to be, and you know,
Okay.
you've got at least the way I understood it was the Moria goblins are the weakest.
Mm.
Then normal orcs,
Okay.
and then Urukai,
Hmm.
the one
And-
that Saruman's have created.
Okay.
Saruman have created.
And they
Okay.
can go out in the sun.
They can go out in the sun.
Yeah.
Was their big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But what was I going to say? What was the other one? Gandalf with the magic.
Yeah.
And the sword. It's never he's never been that sort of wizard who's throwing fireballs and throwing lightning and stuff.
Sure. I
like
mean, look,
his
look.
magic's a lot more about instilling hope in others. Yeah,
What?
it is. No, he literally has
He's
a
a support.
he has
He's a support wizard.
yeah, if using D&D terms, he's a support more than an attack. He has, again, the magic system's very soft. It's not explained. It's,
Mm.
but Gandalf, he needs to use a sword to defend himself. He doesn't really have that kind of attack
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah, I think he's got a little smite with him and Saruman. Sorry, I think that's a bit far away. Him and Saruman having that War of the Wizards, as it were.
That was cool.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene?
It's not in the books, but it's a cool addition.
I don't know. It felt like there could have been more, more sparks flying, more stuff rather than just
fair enough.
ooh, and then
Yeah.
some force moves someone and
It's almost like
strike
Star Wars,
back.
actually.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, their purpose was actually
Throw fire at each other and
that would be cool,
and stuff.
but they're just not really those kinds of wizards in Lord of the
Conjure
Rings.
ice stakes from thin air and send them, that kind of stuff,
Yeah. Well, their purpose is more to advise the people of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. They're not really those sort of fireball slinging wizards.
Wizards.
No, they're not.
Fire
It's
slinging
not
wizards.
not Dumbledore. It's
Mm.
he
Right.
his magic's definitely a lot more subtle in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I thought it was also convenient that Balrog came when he did in the movie because
Yeah,
these guys were surrounded by orcs, no way of getting out. Movie
But
ends
don't you
there
think that most
if
movies,
Balrog didn't come.
most
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah,
convenience
sure,
and stuff.
but if that scene felt like a series of convenience. First with 2 waves of attack, convenient. Second with Balrog coming in, convenient.
Yeah.
Third with what's his name, Gandalf being able to defeat him by just breaking the floor below him on that bridge, kind of convenient, but
Yeah.
okay.
Smart.
I guess for me, I'm biased,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's one of the most exciting and awesome scenes I've ever seen. In my
I love
life.
that. I never
Oh,
thought
dude,
about the
and
two waves.
even from like,
I
Yeah.
just loved it.
because even from like when I
Yeah.
was a kid, and especially, and then I watched it again. You know, when Frodo and Aragorn are on that one pillar
Mm.
of the stairs, and there's like the gap, and they have to jump across, and then it breaks and it goes.
Yeah, that was also hella convenient.
That was hella
Yo.
convenient, but I guess
But it was cool.
It was sick. It's really cool, bro. You need
lean,
There is a bit
lean
of-
forward.
you need to turn off your rational
I
brain.
think
for shit like that.
I think that's he used a good term. There's a little bit of just rule of cool, like what they think will just
That's
be the most
epic.
cinematic.
Yeah.
I think maybe it is convenient, but
Oh, it definitely is
but it
convenient.
also led to a huge. It doesn't feel
Well,
convenient
because
because
of
it leads to
Gandalf,
such a
yeah.
devastating
yeah,
loss.
like their
Ah,
strongest,
okay.
So
the strongest one of the party
yeah,
Yeah.
to them, he dies
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's actually a really good point. I don't really think about that. You kind of, I guess you're watching it and you're like, that's epic. Hopefully you haven't been like, that's too convenient. And then that happens and you're like, okay.
No, because Gandalf's, it didn't strike me so much though, because Gandalf's death seemed optional,
Right.
because he wasn't dragged down. He let go of the ledge.
Yes.
So-
I have theories about why I think he did that.
Okay.
that they don't go. I think he did it because he knew he needed to go finish the Balrog. He couldn't have the Balrog follow the party with
But
the ring.
can the Balrog come out of
Yeah.
the mine?
It's like a demon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's. I don't think,
Yeah.
at least in how it's implied in the film, I can't remember in the book.
It
can't be killed with
No.
kind of material means.
Well, well,
So
yeah.
even if it fell down in a 1,000-foot cliff, it couldn't die.
So Gandalf, Sauron, and the Balrog are essentially the same type of being. They're essentially like angels. Yeah,
Or demons.
Yeah, and and Sauron is a like a fallen angel, and so is the Balrog, and they can't die.
Mm.
So you would have had this giant flaming unkillable thing
Okay.
chasing, but yeah,
Mm.
that's why Sauron keeps coming back. His body gets destroyed, but he can just
Yeah.
keep coming
I
back.
mean, but for Sauron, it's like he's tied to the ring. If the ring also gets destroyed, then he's dead.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I don't know if you want to get into Return. We can
Okay.
get into that with Return of the King.
Okay,
If you want to,
sure.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what they told me from the first movie.
Okay, I'm gonna flip it. What was your favorite part?
Yeah,
of
let's
the,
be
of the Fellowship
positive.
of the Ring?
For
It's
me,
like you.
Yeah.
There's a sheet, and then you poked like 5 holes in it, but the rest of the sheet is nice and gold.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say my favorite part is the friendship between Sam and
Yeah.
Frodo.
Yeah,
Very
that's
moving.
cool.
That was the heartwarming and best part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It did feel, like you had 3.5 hours to do the movie and it still didn't finish, right? Like it ends where Sam and Frodo are now going on their own.
Yeah.
And I get that, yes, there's a lot more story to
Mhm.
tell, but
Yeah.
using my modern brain of today,
Yeah.
if you have 3.5 hours to make a movie and you don't wrap it up then and you need more.
That's fun. I very distinctly remember
Mm.
seeing it in the cinema, and I didn't.
You sat for 3.5 hours in a cinema.
Yeah, of course,
Did
That
you
was
have to go on like pee breaks or something?
probably.
Have you not been to
But-
a movie that long?
But
In a cinema? No.
I was just gonna say, I was,
3.5
So you didn't. Well, like June was June was maybe not
That
that
was
long,
like
but
2 hours, I think.
Oppenheimer. No, it was longer than that. It was at least 2.5, maybe closer to 3. Oppenheimer was over 3.
yeah, that was brutal
No, I didn't watch
watching
that.
that.
We didn't watch Killers of the Flower Moon, but that was close to 4, which is ridiculous.
But-
That had no plot as well.
Yeah,
That's a bit harsh, but
I was just gonna say, I
Close.
remember being really surprised when it ended. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like an end.
what
point
it
at
feels
all.
like to me,
Exactly.
it
It
feels
doesn't.
like
Uh,
they could have probably the last bit with when Boromir goes to steal the ring, and then there's this like martyrdom and redemption with Boromir. That's almost like an epilogue
Mm.
for the full story, which is Gandalf dying right at the end, like that last battle, getting out of Moria.
Yeah,
Mm.
And but I do agree with the lack of satisfaction.
that's not
Yeah.
bad. That's not a
It
bad
felt
thing
like a
necessarily
random
for.
place to stop it, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm
To
just trying
me,
to think
anyway.
where else
Where
would
else,
they
though?
stop it.
Because directly after
Yeah.
that, a whole new adventure sort of starts.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know else.
I
how
wonder what
else-
you'll say when after the next one. I feel will make sense.
Yeah.
I would hope that it, closes a lot of the holes in my grasp and understanding of the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else you liked about it?
Huh.
The pacing,
I
the
think-
theatrical version of the pacing.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and just. I think I said this to you, right? There's so many modern movies out there today where you're just like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just like, what the, well, and you just, there's like a little bit of tension that's being not like pulled tightly enough, or it's not keeping you engaged enough. And it seemed like watching the theatrical version, it's 3 hours long, and normally I can barely handle a 3-hour movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
why the F do they make bloody movies this long? It's ridiculous. But there's 3 hours, and it was action, adventure, and then it just lulled perfectly and rose
Yeah.
and fell, and it kept me engaged for the whole thing. And I normally don't see thrilling movies like that done anymore.
Could you watch that movie at one go, or do you have to
Yeah.
break it?
I watched
I watched
the
it twice.
extended cut in one go.
So I watched it last week with my. I watched it with my girlfriend, and then I watched it last night.
Yeah.
3 straight, and it was just
Straight.
like, this is sick.
Nah.
This is goated.
Nah, I can't do that, bro.
Wow.
I don't know. Is it? Could
Isn't
it
it
be
attention?
that?
You're younger than us, eh? You got with the phones and
Yeah.
the TikTok child, yeah.
Hey.
Just kidding.
No, but for real, I think in this matter, there's definitely a difference of level of appeal to you guys compared to me. Yeah.
Do you like other fantasy?
I love fantasy
So do you
genre in general.
do you
So
think-
in a sense, I love this already because it's fantasy.
Right.
Right.
So you're in, as it were.
But it's not as compelling to me as it is to you guys, especially because I feel like a lot of the stuff the movie didn't do, you guys might be unconsciously making up for that with your knowledge.
No,
from
I
the
agree.
books.
I that's why I'm trying to not constantly go, well, in the book, well, in the book, well, in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely probably a thing. But
Exactly.
admittedly, I will say I'd probably seen the film about 100 times before I read the book. When I was a
Okay.
kid, I used to, on a Saturday, talking about sitting through the whole thing in one go, I used to, on a Saturday morning, I'd get the videotape out, put it in the video player, sit there like this, watch the whole thing, and then hit rewind, back to the start, and press play.
Bro.
And just sit there. Oh, that was my Saturday. Yeah. This is when I was very young. How old would I have been? Maybe 10 or something. Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that also introduces another thing, right? Like, you know how we look back on things with rose-tinted glasses and
Of course.
Yeah.
No,
that
'cause
can
I
carry along.
agree with that.
That was a very important part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, so there are definitely movies. I remember, like, I love movies. Always talk about them, but there occasionally, I don't know if you guys have this experience. You'll describe a movie and you'll say how great it is, and then your friends, you expect them to kind of mirror that because they mirror so much of your
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, I don't really, they might go like that, or they haven't even seen it, or something like that. And I think part of it is because you're going through a really, you might be a teenager and you might have been going through a really important part of your life, and then that really hit home at that time.
Mhm.
It's like putting on like a cringe-ass song from
Yeah.
like your teenage
14
years.
apparently is the people show the highest preference for music they listen to when they were 14, I believe. There has been
Well,
research
Return
on
of the
it.
King is 2003, so we would have been 11.
I would have been
11.
12.
I would have been 11.
Yeah,
Mm.
12ish.
Mm.
But yes, I can see there could be some rose tinted glasses that I might be wearing. But
Yeah, it's still the best movies ever made.
It's-
but,
it's hard for me-
rose-tinted or not.
it's hard for me, yeah, to argue that it's not the best trilogy ever made.
Okay, so
I
what
can't
would
bear
you
that.
rate the first movie over 10?
9.8.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only do 0.5.
I don't normally rate things like that, but
Yeah.
I would give it a very, very, very high.
Okay.
I'll be 9.5.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd give it a 7, guys. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
I'm off.
But that's
Well,
just me. Look,
I-
nothing against it. I'm sure if
Hey,
I
I'm
read
not one
the
of these
books,
people who's going to get butthurt if someone
Yeah.
doesn't have the same opinion.
yeah,
Fair
I'm
enough.
sure if I read the books, I might find it more enjoyable. But yeah, just going off of. The
So why
movie
is
I
it
saw.
7? Because there was a bit of context left out that frustrated you. What else? Because besides from some of those things that you're unsure of, what exactly else? Maybe a little bit of confusing parts. What else do you think brings it down from perhaps our mark? Do you think?
I mean,
Had you
it's
eaten?
it's really
the
the
time?
context. To be honest,
Mm.
it's really all of that, because for me, I feel like I would be more invested in the characters if I had that. I wasn't as invested in them. For me, it was like, if Sauron gets his ring, man gets his possession. Okay, the elves, the dwarves, and the hobbits and the humans die, but I don't really know y'all like that to begin with. So you
Yeah.
could go, you could stay.
Yeah. I
It's
wonder.
either way for me.
I wonder. So I want you to watch it every day for a week. No.
Yeah, okay.
Send us a report.
Can you guys tear him to shreds in the comments, please?
Yeah.
Because he deserves
Ruin
it.
No,
this
I'm
man.
sure
No.
there's a lot of people.
No, it would have
who
been. It's
absolutely
good
love
that we
this
have
movie.
someone else that's not as fond of it for the podcast, because then we would have just been gushing over it. And it might
Yeah,
have been
we were
a little
talking
bit-
about that on the way here.
Yeah.
I'm resisting the urge to not just gush over everything I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I just find the film just hits home on so many levels.
Me
like,
too.
like the music, plot, the acting, the special.
I wasn't so in love with the music, guys, to be honest. I
We-
didn't want to say anything, but you
What-
keep bringing up the music.
What's wrong with the music?
I love.
I didn't
the
say
music.
there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think there's that much great about it. It's okay.
That's more wild than calling it a 7,
Right.
dude. That's
Yeah,
strange.
Oh.
Very strange to me, to be perfectly honest. I think that's an
I
odd
mean-
take.
Okay.
What do you like in a soundtrack? Normally, do you?
I guess that's the question to ask.
I mean, so if I'm watching a movie, it depends on what the soundtrack is trying to get me
Yeah.
to feel. First
Yeah.
of all,
Yeah.
do I sense that there's a soundtrack? Because sometimes
Hmm.
I might not sense it, right? I might be so engrossed in the movie that
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
sense the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I guess this is also a choice with the director, with the composer. Do they want people to sense it, or do they want
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it to go under the radar?
Yeah.
If I sense the soundtrack, then it needs to be very complementary with the movie in such a way that
Yeah.
I'm aware of the soundtrack, but it's helping the experience. It's not taking away from it. It's not distracting me. I didn't sense the soundtrack all that much with
Yeah.
this
Oh, wow.
movie. And so since I didn't sense it, I can't say it's great or it's
Yeah.
not great. It's just mid to me because it didn't stand
Yeah, because
out.
when something comes on, I'm like, dun, 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 and I'll
Mordor.
just start singing.
Yeah,
Mordor.
I guess that
I-
comes when you've watched it
Yeah, true,
several
true,
times,
true,
right?
true,
you,
true.
Yeah.
you start looking at the finer details and stuff. Oh, I didn't notice this there.
True.
I don't really
But-
know how to respond. Like, if that's how you felt, that's how you felt. But I just found.
I know it'll break your hearts,
No, it's
guys.
fine.
I'm sorry.
I just thought, like, the music, he just did so. One thing I really liked about the soundtrack is he like, I'll just say he wrote him. I thought he wrote brilliant themes for the different places and characters and themes. Like we're talking about the Shire themes, very homely and tranquil, and then
Yeah.
you would have something like the High Elves, like Galadriel. He uses a lot of, you'd call, like, scales that are very Eastern, and it gives them a much more exotic sort of flavor. So I felt like he did a great job with his compositions of really drawing distinctions between different cultures
Mm.
and ideas. And I also felt like he emphasized that further with his orchestration, the instruments he chose, like you hear like a lot of tin flute in the Shire. You hear a lot of he avoids using brass until the fellowships
Did
come
you
together.
pick all this on your own, or did you
Yeah.
get it from reading
No.
interviews and stuff like that?
No, I got this from watching the film. Yeah,
Okay.
like, and he uses, like, yeah. I felt like he did an amazing job at like distinguishing characters and emphasizing, what it was, the emotional weight of what Peter
Mm.
Jackson's trying to tell.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
one thing I want to say just before the end is, I think I said this in one of the last podcasts.
yeah,
For me, if I get like a really heavy emotional connection to a scene or
Yeah.
a series of scenes, and I really feel it, then that's when I'm going to rate it high.
yeah.
And
Totally.
I need to be careful about the intellectualization after the fact.
Hmm.
So, like, when I watch that again, there's the scene with Aragorn and Arwen and realizing that she's giving up immortality by giving over the thing. Like, that's like bringing me close to the point. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing with Sam and Frodo, how he's swimming out right at the end to come to his mate, and then there's also there's the treason of Saruman, and then there's Boromir getting taken by the ring,
Mhm.
but then getting redeemed right at the end, and he's getting
Yeah.
like, that's just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sends me very close to the edge, and
I'll shed a tear.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So like,
yeah.
and it then so
Yeah.
if and that's kind of like my marker of whether something's merely good or it's great. Because if
Yeah.
it's making, you know,
It's making you feel things, huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is, at least to me, that's the point of art.
I think that's the most important criteria for
I think-
myself.
Yeah.
Definitely how I feel. Like if I can intellectualize something and say to myself that was very clever. Those are some great themes exhibited or whatever.
Yeah.
But I will take feeling emotionally impacted over that
Okay.
any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes you can go and be like, you can look back at it and go, that didn't quite make sense. Like that wouldn't probably happen. You know, well, you know.
Sure.
Too
But then at the end of the
feeling,
film, you're
yeah.
like feeling all of this emotion, and then
Yeah.
you have to think about that because that's actually how it made you feel.
Mm.
But I guess it's what your metrics are,
Yeah.
and
I wouldn't say I'm overly intellectual with my movies.
No, I
right?
wouldn't.
Good.
I also feel things,
Yeah.
and I imagine this makes a lot of people feel things, right? Because there's a lot of strong love for
There
this
is.
movie and this trilogy and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't feel as much as I know people around me feel
Mhm.
Yeah,
when
sure,
they
that's
watch
fine.
this, which I guess I'm kind of missing out on that. But
well,
you
I
know,
think
it is what it is.
maybe
people
because I
are
see, when I was
unique.
talking about June, I watched the movies part 1 and part 2. Then I read the book. Then I watched them again.
Yeah.
Part 1 got better. Part 2 went down.
Yeah.
And so it could be the case of you reading the books and they do,
Everything just gets
because as Liam said before,
Yeah.
he
Probably.
explains in detail a lot of those,
Probably.
answers a lot of those questions in detail that you
Yeah.
asked before.
Yeah. What about
But it is long,
we
1,000
haven't
pages.
touched on things. We haven't touched on things like what about like the acting? What do you guys think of the
Oh, and there's
performances?
the hobbits with the adults in the room, as it were, like the bigger
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how they did that. And because
Amazing.
every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to see where's the cut, where's the green screen, all that stuff, and it's very hard to pick up what I thought it was.
That was one thing I actually thought about when I watched it in preparation for this was like in the Shire, there's all that forced perspective where they're making Bilbo. A lot of times Gandalf and Bilbo are actually in the same room, but they use forced perspective to make them look different sizes. I didn't even notice there were special effects. I didn't even think about special effects because it's just so seamlessly done.
I was
like-
imagining CGI or something. is what
Very
they did
little.
there, and I didn't try to stress my brain trying to figure it out because I thought it might take away from the joy
Well,
of watching
yeah.
the thing. So I tried to
You don't notice.
turn off my brain with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one. Yeah.
There's a shot. I don't know if I'll be able to explain it that you're seeing it, but there's a shot where Gandalf and Bilbo walk into the same room,
Mm.
and they're clearly using forced perspective because Bilbo is like about this tall and Gandalf's normal height.
Mm.
But then Gandalf hands him his staff, and I have no idea how they did it. He literally just gives Bilbo his staff, and when Bilbo takes it, it's huge. And when Gandalf's got its normal size,
So like,
I don't know,
'cause
how did
I
they-
didn't know how they did that. I was thinking sometimes
yeah,
they put like a green face over a child, and they green screen the face on.
maybe.
Oh yeah, I don't know how.
Actually, maybe it's as simple as that.
I
But
don't know.
yeah,
That's probably not simple though. We've got
Yeah.
the filmmaker over here. You can maybe tell
yeah.
us.
How'd they do it?
He doesn't want to jump in.
Fair enough.
No, but yeah, I think there's a lot of things, production techniques.
No, there's definitely it's a technical marvel.
Mm.
I will say that.
Yeah.
Especially for its time, right? It was released 2001.
2001, I think?
yeah, over 20 years ago.
Exactly. So, and I guess that probably fed into the love it received
Yeah.
at that time, right? Because
You know,
it was so ahead of its time.
it was,
Yeesh.
yeah. And like the sets, like Hobbiton existed, like they built Hobbiton, like they.
Well, it was more like holes in the ground. with
I
the
know,
doors.
like the facade.
Yeah, yeah.
but
I remember
still-
going there like just after the first one came out when I was like 10, expecting
Yeah.
to go into like Bilbo's house.
Yeah.
Open the door, it's just like a wall of mud.
Okay, you just ruined it for me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
I've never been.
But apparently they've
Yeah.
changed it all. Like it's way better now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I thought the sets were unreal. And they use CGI. I actually have seen the making before. I watched the making, and they really had
No
an
surprises
ethos of avoiding using CGI as much as they could.
Mm.
Like where they could just use natural settings, they did.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's part of the reason it's so much better than The Hobbit.
Mm.
Because The Hobbit is like just a splooge, just like it's just CGI just vomited onto the screen. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's so kind of organic, and it's all one, and everything makes sense, and all the costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they all blend into this really nice final product.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else anyone wanted
Trying to think.
get off their
I've been
chest?
thinking for a while about what else
What else?
I want to specifically say.
I love the casting. I love all the actors. I love
Of course you do.
I know. I love everything about it. But
What
it's
about
why it's my
Frodo, though?
Oh, that's the only questionable one.
Yeah, because in the books he's way cooler, in my opinion.
Is he?
He's just less effeminate and less kind of.
Oh,
He's
he's
more like-
adorable.
Yeah, but
He's more
he's,
the
he's
man.
less
no?
cool. Yeah, he's more the man in the books, in my opinion. He's the only one that I question. Like, I love Merry and Pippin in the movies, even though they're slightly.
Yeah.
Because there's interesting differences. Actually, there's something else I want to bring up. What I used to hear in the past when I was, I don't know, browsing Lord of the Rings forums when I was a dirty dungeon teenager,
Dang.
was people used to get really mad that Peter Jackson changed some of the story in the film, right?
Mhm.
Because they're just so, in love with the books, and that's understandable. But when Arwen comes to help save Frodo, that's actually an elf called Glorfindel.
Mm-hmm.
This random elf that you never see again, right? He just comes and basically saves the day. And I actually like it how it's Arwen, because it
me
creates
too.
that later connection for the movie watcher, for the love story,
Mm.
Another big change they made. I think it's the biggest difference between the book and the film is Aragorn. In the book, he is all about becoming the king. That's his big
Good
driver.
point.
He's like, even the broken sword, Narsil.
Mm.
He says at one point, if any man touches my sword, I'll kill them. This is the sword of the king of Gondor.
Mm.
And I am the king.
Mm.
But in the film, I really like the way they made him much more human, much more. He had a lot more doubt,
Mm.
and he was and he thought, my forefather Isildur, the king of Gondor, he failed.
Yeah.
He fell to the temptation
Who
of
am
the
I
ring.
to succeed where
Yeah,
all
and
these
I
other
don't
people
know
have
what it
failed.
is in real life, because I've never had the opportunity to become a king, as much as I would like to. No,
Sure king.
but it makes logical sense that like someone who's got that doubt within them about it corrupting them would probably make a more successful king.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Tolkien
It's-
agrees with you.
Yeah.
We
makes sense.
were friends.
He had that same opinion. Yeah.
It makes sense, but I also wasn't so sold on why then everyone around him, the elf that is giving off for immortality, Galadriel, or assuring him that where all of your predecessors have failed, you will succeed.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, why? How can you know that? What's special about this guy compared to all of his forefathers that he will succeed where all the
He's a
others have
great man.
failed?
He's very handsome.
I thought he's I think he's sort of supposed to be in a way like the ideal version, like the ideal man, whereas Boromir is sort of man as
Just
he
a
actually
man.
is. I feel like there's this idea I felt like it came across in the film that Aragorn's in some way exceptional. Like he's very, very competent. He's a warrior. He's brave.
Sure, but
But he's
what
also
way?
very nurturing. He's very humble.
Protective
He's protective
of the hobbits in particular.
Yeah, and also Tolkien was a monarchist. He thought there should be a king or a queen or whatever. So I
It makes
guess a lot
sense
of the
though,
characters in the it's not necessarily justified. They just think there should be a king. They think the king should go back to the throne, maybe as part of
Yeah.
it as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That could be the next podcast.
I mean, that fits in with the setting, though.
Yeah.
The magic. I mean, at least to me, if there's magic running around and different races of things, I would believe men would be looking to the race of men would be looking to one singular ruler, decision maker to unite all their thoughts and forces, as opposed to a council of merchants that are making business decisions when.
Yeah.
Is this your description of democracy? Council of merchants making decisions together in a cozy room at the top of the
Kind of
humongous
feels that way,
building.
though.
It does.
Yeah.
That's a lovely description.
But anyway, yeah, I definitely like the movie because it's fantasy and I love fantasy in general.
Me too.
I just don't feel it as much as you guys do, but
Yeah.
Fair
that
enough.
I'm sure that happens with. There are some people in the world that are also in the same ship as myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think.
Just as there are many more in your ships.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, hopefully you
Anyway.
enjoy the second ones, but the second
'Cause I
and third a
think
bit more.
the last two are more liked. Am I right about that? For the
okay.
I'm not
fans?
sure.
I think they
I'm
are.
not sure.
Anyway.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
are we wrapping up?
Yeah. So it's best to keep it
Yep.
concise.
I could talk for
Yeah.
5 more
I
hours.
can
I've been
tell.
restraining myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we do the part 2,
Yeah.
you can gush a little more.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yep. Can't wait for the Two Towers.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to just come be a
it's-
dork for. This is all I want to talk to people about. And they want me to stop.
Well, I've
talk-
heard him talk about, I'd probably say 100 hours at least about this one topic already.
Oh,
Probably actually more than that.
oh, really?
Yeah. So I've heard
Yeah.
this a lot of this before,
Yeah.
right? So I'm a little bit bored of what. His
No.
point
Oh,
of
thanks.
view. Yeah.
Come on.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It was great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Victor.
Yeah.
Because
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's
you
what.
made us watch like one of our favorite films.
Yeah.
if
Thank
not
you.
At the top.
Sure thing.
So,
man. That's what this is for, so we can get things off our chest about pieces of art that we've consumed and have
Yeah.
some feelings about. All right, fellas. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your thoughts. It was a pleasure, and let's do this again soon.
Thank you
Let's-
very much for watching.
Cheers.
Thank you all, and have a good day.